Good morning. Good morning. And thank you for joining me for another morning conversation with Constance. I am so thrilled that you are joining me today. And I'm thrilled that everything went right. If you were here with me yesterday, you know that I had a couple of technical problems. And so I think I worked everything out. And so I'm happy that you are joining me. Please put it in the chat that you can see me and hear me. I'd love to know. And also tell me where you are watching me from, because I really would like to know that too. As many of you know, I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, and where we're having a beautiful day. And again, I am excited about being here because over the last couple of weeks, I've had some technical problems. And you know what? I keep showing up. And yesterday, when things went a little hinky, I was frustrated. I'll be honest with you, I was frustrated. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep showing up. And sometimes just showing up is the victory. Have you ever have you ever felt like that? Like you defied the odds, you overcome all of the voices in your head that said just give up, and you showed up, and that is the win. And that's how I feel today. And when I was thinking about it yesterday, I thought about a lot of you who are, you know, in the process of launching a business, or, changing a lifestyle or changing a career, and you're all excited, right? You go on this roller coaster ride. You start off and you're, oh my gosh, you're so excited. You anticipate everything's going to go well. You've prepared yourself. And then you hit the messy middle. You know what I'm talking about, the messy middle. And if that's something that has happened to you, put it in the chat that you've hit the messy middle. And I thought about you yesterday, because that middle part, that part where sometimes things don't go your way, or you don't get the funding, or you take your eye off the ball and you start hearing the naysayers talk about, how crazy you are to launch a new business, or to make a significant change in your life. You're in that messy middle where you think, maybe I didn't hear from God, and maybe this isn't what He wants me to do, and maybe I've made a mistake. And I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you, because that messy middle is where you start to doubt yourself, and you start to doubt, whether or not, make sure I have the comments up here. You start to doubt whether or not this is something that, that you should do, that was meant for you, right? Um, so you have to really dig deep in order to get through this messy middle part. And I got to tell you that there was a time when I hit the messy middle, because I'm not technically savvy, right? That's just not my jam. And I hit the messy middle and I stopped. I stopped doing something that I have a passion for, which is helping women make significant changes in their lives, right? I spent 40 years in TV news, and I know how difficult it is to leave something behind, to decide to make a pivot. And I know how, um, you can doubt yourself. And when you make that decision, you want to think that everything's going to go perfectly, but it doesn't. You, again, you hit that messy middle where um, things don't go right, and or things just go slower than you anticipated. That's, I think, what happens to a lot of businesses. The profits don't come as quickly as the bills come in, so to speak. Or you have trouble with just anything, getting your message out there. For a lot of you, you know what the messy middle is. It's not pretty. Oh wow, I have someone watching from Russia. Hello, welcome, welcome. Um, so yeah, you're in that messy middle. And it's during that time that stress builds and anxiety builds, and you start to doubt yourself. You start to doubt the dream that you have for yourself, whether it's starting a new business or, like I said, making a significant change. And that happened to me. So I know firsthand what I'm talking about. I got into the messy middle, and for a while I stopped. I lost sight of my passion, and the reason why I wanted to launch my own coaching company. And so um, when that happens, I froze. It was like I was in a fog and I couldn't see my way out. And the only voices I heard were the negative voices, right? The folks who said, well, maybe you shouldn't have done this in the first place. Maybe you shouldn't have left TV news. It's all those voices that come out that tell you you were wrong. So for a while, I just didn't do anything. But when it's your passion, it will find you. It will pull you back to where you need to be. It won't let you go. Tell me in the chat if that's how you have felt, like you couldn't shake it. I'd wake up in the morning and I would be thinking about all of the people that I could be helping, all of the women who were stuck in a job that they no longer liked, that needed to hear my voice and needed to hear my perspective, because I, been there, done that. It won't let you go. Um, but still you run from it as much as you possibly can until for me, I had to say, uncle, okay, let me go back to it. And I think for a lot of people, if they don't go back to their passion, they will walk away from their dreams and their goals. And that's the sad part about it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about just showing up. Like, just don't give up. The time that I didn't show up, I see it as a learning lesson. I see it as a learning lesson. I don't want to say it was a regret. I needed to go through that kind of valley. And sometimes we need to go through the valley in order to wake us up to what's really important. And so the technical glitches and problems, that's not really important. What's important is that the message, the story, the information gets out. So if you're in the messy middle, number one, I want to tell you, just showing up is a victory. That's a win. So, like right now, I'm sitting in the seat. That's a win. But you also, if you find yourself in that messy middle, go back to your why. Why did you decide to make the change or launch the business, or change your lifestyle? Why did you do that? Revisit that, because as I said, your why is going to pull you forward. Your passion for whatever it is will pull you back, and it will pull you forward. That's number one. Number two, get help, whatever it is. So if there's a part of your um, If there's a part of your dream or whatever that isn't working, analyze what it is. For me, it's technical, right? I would say that, that's my biggest hang up is knowing what buttons to push and hoping they all connect and all that kind of stuff like that. And so I'm getting help with that, you know? I'm okay with asking for help. And you should be okay with asking for help because we all need help. Don't be fooled by what you see on social media, those glitzy, glamorous pictures where everybody looks good and they sound good. That's their highlight reel. That's their highlight reel. It doesn't mean that everything that is going on in their life is perfect. Ask for help. Number two, become a learner again. Be okay with being a learner. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I'm just learning some of the technical stuff. That's not, it's not my jam. And I'm okay with it. You're a learner. When you're learning, you give yourself permission to make mistakes. You give yourself permission to not get it right. Right? Everything doesn't have to be perfect because you're just learning and you're making a new way for yourself. And give yourself grace for being a learner. Reframe what you see as a failure. Like, I think a lot of times when something happens on the video, I think, oh my gosh, I look so silly and everybody's going to be laughing and all that kind of stuff like that. But the reality is, it wasn't a failure because I got the information out, you know, and if I help one person, that's one person more than I would have helped if I didn't show up. Think about that. Reframe what you think of as failure. Things don't have to, we don't have to think of one thing that goes wrong and so the whole thing is a waste of time. Rethink how you see failure and learn. Think of failing as a learning opportunity. Nelson Mandela once said, I never fail. He said, I never fail. I always learn. He always looked at it as a learning opportunity to do better the next time. Open yourself up to being vulnerable. Now, this was really hard for me because, like all of us, we don't want to appear to be silly or, goofy or not know what we're doing. But it's okay because who is perfect? Name one of your friends who's perfect. Put it in the chat because I'd like to I'd like to know who that person is. The fact of the matter is, none of us is perfect. And it's okay because it's in our vulnerability that we learn and we connect with people. So open yourself up. Don't take yourself so seriously. It wasn't the end of the world that my video glitched yesterday. That wasn't the end of the world. I went on with my day. And, my faith and my belief in myself and my belief in what I'm doing got stronger. Why? Because I showed up today. Showing up was the victory. So you got to just keep going. And I know a lot of people think affirmations are woo woo. I don't think affirmations are woo woo. Affirmations really helped ground me, and they also help me um, block out the negative noise that's in my head, right? If I'm always telling myself that I'm strong and resilient and that I'm a leader and that I'm doing well, if I'm always telling myself those things, then it's easier to show up because I believe in myself and I believe in my message. Show up and just keep going. I can't say that enough. Showing up is so important, not only for you, but it's for the people around you. Think about it. If you're starting a business or you have a message that you want to get out there, your voice is important. If you want to change your lifestyle, that's important. It's important that you be the most authentic and that you live up to the highest potential that you have, that you dream of. And you got to show up and you got to be okay with falling down. It's okay. Think about babies when they start walking. I know a lot of people use this analogy. When babies start walking, they walk, they toddle, they teeter and then they fall down and they get right back up and they try again and they try again until they get it. That's where you may be. You're in that messy middle where you're trying to get it all together and, pull it together so it comes together, right? But in the middle, it's just messy because you're learning and you're trying. But I want today to just encourage you to give yourself grit and grace. Have grit and grace. Give yourself grace to be a learner, to to wake up every day and think, I'm going to try again. I'm going to show up as my authentic self again. And you're going to see that before too long, you're going to get out of that messy middle, right? You're going to get out of that messy middle and it's all going to come together. And then you'll try something new. And guess what? You'll go through the roller coaster again because you're learning something new. I want to encourage you today to just think about what I've said and to give yourself grace and to show up again because that's the victory. Thanks for joining me. Thank you for joining me all the way from Russia. I appreciate it. Please leave it in the chat, your thoughts on never giving up and never not showing up. Put it in the chat what your thoughts are, and I'll make sure to follow up. And as always, hit the button and click the bell so you'll be notified when any new videos are posted. I'll see you next week because I plan on showing up. Take care, everybody.